What is going on, guys? Gamers Goon here today with yet another film review. I know I did Stranger Things recently. This one is going to be more spoilers. I tried to hold a lot off for Stranger Things in case you did not watch it yet, because I released that literally the day of its release. Whereas Top Gun Maverick, it's been a few weeks since it came out, and I'm going off the assumption that if you wanted to watch it, you probably watched it by now. So that is how I'm operating with this video. I'm still going to try to not necessarily spoil as many things, but I'm not going to be as cautious. So, if you haven't seen it and you're okay with spoilers, then stay. But if you have seen it and you don't want to, if you haven't seen it and you want to stay clear of the spoilers, then I recommend you probably bookmark this and come back to it at a later date. Because we're going to talk a little bit about it. So obviously this is the second one of the Top Gun franchise. We had one from back in the 1900s. I think it was like, when was the first one made? When was Top Gun 1 made? When was Top Gun made? 1986. So this is the second one of the franchise, about 30 something years ago. And believe it or not, they actually had a few of the older characters return in this one. Obviously, I'm not sure whether or not you've watched the first one, but if you did, this one pays a good homage to it. Tom Cruise's character plays a good homage to it, references back to Goose, who was actually Rooster's father. We come to find out Miles Teller is Rooster, and his father is Goose, who died with Tom Cruise, Maverick, as his wingman. So we kind of see that storyline progress throughout the movie, where Miles Teller's character Rooster was kind of like, he was always hesitant to work with Maverick. He was always, well, you're the one that put me back in the academy. You pulled my papers. You didn't want me to be You didn't want me to be a pilot. And then you see Cruise's character Maverick. He has to go through. He's just like, listen, the reasons I did that is because I promised Goose, I promised your mother that I was gonna keep you safe, and you as a pilot isn't safe. I've seen your dad die. I don't want to see you die. And another one that they called back to in this is Iceman. Iceman obviously was the one that flew as the wingman of Maverick at the end of the first Top Gun. And Iceman has a somewhat important role, as he's the one that's basically enlisting in Maverick's help in order to come back and teach at the Top Gun Academy. For the new mission where they're gonna go take down in foreign land. They're gonna go take down, I believe it's an ammonium or something like that, plant that they were getting some toxic type of material, and they were storing it there, and they did not want them to have it there. Obviously, the United States government did not. So they had to plan a special mission, and they brought in Maverick to lead that mission. They didn't want Maverick to fly. Obviously, Maverick is one of those pilots that he doesn't really think through things before he does it. He's a loose cannon. We've seen it in the first one. We've seen it at the beginning of this one. We've seen it throughout the film in this one when he's training the academy. It was just Iceman enlisted in his help. We didn't really see Iceman. We just saw text up until when Iceman is close to death, that we see a meeting between the two. And Maverick's like, I don't think Rooster's gonna ever trust me. And then he's just like, well, you gotta get him to want to trust you. You gotta get him to want it to be able to fly. You want to get him to the point where he's ready. Because Maverick did not think Rooster would ever be ready for this mission. So Iceman kind of gave him that last motivation before his death. Um, and then after the death of Iceman, we see the general, um, one of the generals. I don't remember specifically which one it was. Um, where they kind of just when Iceman dies, he takes over. He's just like, listen, Maverick. Now that Iceman's dead, there's nobody left to vouch for you. There's nobody left to be in your corner, and I'm gonna have to let you go. I'm gonna have to let you go, and I'm gonna be the leader of this mission. I'm gonna teach them. I'm gonna go through this. So when he goes to start teaching the academy, we see him. He's just like, oh, we're gonna have more than the 2.5 minutes that Maverick taught you that we're gonna have. Oh, our flights are gonna be higher than what Maverick taught you that we were gonna need to do. And the academy's just looking at him. You got Bradshaw, which is Rooster, looking at him different. You got Hangman looking at him. You got Phoenix looking at him. Um, who else? Fanboy was there. They're all just sitting there, and they're just like, no, no. They can shoot us down. That gives us time. 4 minutes. By then, we're getting intercepted by their planes, and we're dead. If we fly above the 300 mark limit, we're dead because they have the air missiles to protect them from an attack. So they're sitting there listening to this new general, and they're like, "What is this guy talking about? This is a mission for death." But then, as they're discussing, we see a plane start doing the exact same route they were training, and we go back and Maverick's in the plane, and he sets it for 2 minutes 15 seconds. 2 minutes 15 seconds, 15 seconds lower than what they intended. And he starts flying it, and they're looking at him. They're like, 2:15. There's no way he's gonna do that. We can barely do it in 2:30. And he's revving up. He's going super fast. He's doing the route. He does the drop in where he drops in, hits the plutonium plant. He hits his target, and then he does the straight up, the cliff, the straight up cliff where they're breaking, they're pushing the plane to its limits, um, and we think that he's gonna pass out because obviously it starts to look like he might pass out. He doesn't, and the academy goes crazy. There's like 3 or 4 seconds left to spare, and then we go back and we get a discussion between the two, where between the general and between Maverick, and he's just like, listen, I have two options here. I can either save my career and literally just get you right now for stealing federal government property. I could dishonorably discharge you right now. Or I could put the fate of my career in your hands and the fate of this mission in your hands and hope that it works out. And he does that. He hopes that it works out. So Maverick's back leading the mission, and everybody seems to be ready for him to go. And then he announces, Maverick, you're gonna be the manager. You're gonna be the captain of this mission. You're gonna fly. So Maverick actually flies, which doesn't happen. That wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to fly. So they ask him who he wants for his team. He picks Phoenix. He picks Bob. He picks, I believe the other ones was Fritz and Fanboy. And then he picks Bradshaw as his wingman. He picks Bradshaw, Rooster, as his wingman. And Rooster was not expecting it. He wasn't expecting it. Everybody thought it was gonna be a Hangman. It wasn't Hangman. Hangman had to sit back at the base or on the boat and just hope that it worked out. And that's what he had to do. So they go through the mission. The mission goes off basically without a hitch. I mean, the second plane, the plane with Fanboy in it, had to shoot blind into the little bunker because something was wrong with their laser attachment where it's supposed to sink in on something. Um, so they had to shoot blind, but for the most part, they get through and they're done. And then they go through the alley of having to dodge and fight all these missiles and new planes that are showing up and just trying to survive on the way back to the boat. And for the most part, everybody does fine except Maverick. Maverick gets hit. Maverick gets shot out of the air. And we see his plane go crashing down, and we think maybe that's the end of Maverick. Did they kill him off? He parachuted at the last second, apparently, and he found a way to survive. We see him in the middle of like a snowy land, and then we're sitting there and just like, well, they're gonna have to leave him because the general's telling him, oh, he's a lost cause. You gotta come back. We can't lose more than one person in this mission. And then Rooster, everybody else goes back to the ship. Rooster stays. He comes back and he tries to find Maverick. They had a attack chopper chasing after Maverick on the ground, shooting at him, and Rooster takes him down. But then Rooster gets shot out of the sky, and Rooster parachutes, but Maverick thought he was gonna die, so Maverick just starts sprinting towards where the crash was. He finds Rooster. He's mad at Rooster. He's like, well, why did you come back for me? He's like, well, I would appreciate a thank you because he saved his life, but he's just like, you shouldn't have came back for me. Now we're both stuck. So now they're just out in the middle of nowhere trying to figure out how the things are done. And then they realize, you know what, we're kind of close to that base that we blew up. And then they look at the base, they realize there's one hangar that's still not blown up and it has a plane in it. And it's a plane that Maverick used to fly. He hasn't flown it in a long time. So he's like, alright, we're going to try it. And they get in the plane, they steal the plane, they fly it out. Rooster puts his chip back on so that his team knows he's in the air. They just don't recognize the aircraft. They're like, why is Rooster airborne? He's airborne. And then they start to think, he's in one of their planes, but he doesn't know how to fly one of their planes. That means he's with Maverick. He must be with Maverick. So then they're all sitting there just like, come on, make it back. Come on, make it back, make it back. And they have to fight their way out. They have to fight their way out. They're shooting missiles left and right. They're doing anything and everything they can. And then they finally run out of missiles right as they are about to make it back to the ship. And they're about to get taken down when we see another plane blow up the plane that's attacking them. And we see Hangman. Hangman comes to save the day. He flew off the boat into the fight to save them, and then they both landed, and that is basically how the movie ended. Outside of that, we did have a love story between Maverick and Penny, which I'm honestly wasn't necessarily all for. I was more for the action, more for the fighting jets, all for that portion of the movie. But I think they did a solid job. I think this movie was very good. I think it was probably the best movie that I've seen this year. That's going to say a lot. But I really enjoyed this movie. From top to bottom, I thought it was really well executed. But outside of that, I don't really have much else for you. Like I said, if you haven't watched the movie, I recommend going to see it. You'll if you watch the first one, you'll get some of the Easter eggs. You'll understand why the Great Balls of Fire song that Miles Teller, Rooster was singing. You'll be able to understand why Maverick had such like an emotional reaction to that, because that's something Goose did with him, his son, his girl, and then Maverick and his girl. So if you watch the first one, you'll be able to appreciate some of those moments. You'll be able to understand who Goose is, why the relationship with Rooster is the way it is. So you'll be able to understand that if you do watch the first one. But if you don't watch the first one, I still think you can get away with it with this movie. For me, this was a really good movie. But that's all I really got for you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Talk to you later.